Here, we do what others don't.
Dream what others won't, driven to leap forward, determined to always give back.
Here, we work where giants have played, where the connection of work and ethic is made.
A diverse community possessed with a passion
To know and grow and go and show the world we are prepared to change it. Here, we ask what must be done, for in doing we learn and earn success.
and you can get there from here.
DePaul University. Here, we do.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the EGF. We are here for our second match of the day. Should be a fun one. DePaul, the Blue Devils, undefeated so far this season, going up against the newcomers to the EGF. As of this split, Weber State, Claw Gaming, the Wildcats out of Utah.
You know, I've gone out of my way to 100% some games, Batman art, Pokemon Arceus. I've done so much, but never in my life will I ever be able to 100% when it comes down to DePaul guessing. They are just absolutely impressive when it comes down to these matchups, and as you said, they're undefeated. So, for match one, I think this is going to say a lot. Coming out of our new contestants, what changes, what things will you force your opponents to play? I am highly interested to see how this is going to work.
Beta is the first contestant for the side of Weber State. They are on this Mario. Legacy is a Cloud player that we actually saw last week play in his first match, and he was fantastic on this Cloud. We got to interview him too, and when we interviewed him, he was saying that DePaul, they are very, talented across the board, and they do a very good job preparing every week. With that being said, Beta nearly getting the full Mario combo and killing him off the top of the stage almost, but Legacy is able to get away.
Legacy had such a good performance last week, and definitely I feel the Cloud is a very strong suit, but I mean, Beta is just walking in and, not living up to the namesake, just making sure that Cloud has no way to play onto the stage by continuously throwing in the air and then just looking for these air combos. The Cloud just really doesn't know what to do against it.
Good air dodge by Legacy, too, to get back to stage. That will not kill, but the second one will do it. Beta with the early lead here against Legacy.
Last week I said Dr. Mario was better. I'm starting to think that I was wrong. This Mario, he just gets so much room being able to hit with those double legs and then the spin. It's a quick and easy kill, though even at 87, I find it interesting. Beta is not slowing down, continuously looking forward, and Legacy is now mashing when it comes down to percentage.
Gotta play very carefully here with Limit Break online. Sends up the neutral beat. That will not kill quite yet. Once the forward tilt won't find it, the Nair won't connect either. And Beta doing a great job of spacing around this sword. Gets around for the moment, but he does eat the side B. That will not kill quite yet either. Using his jump, grabs the ledge as well. And Legacy doing a good job of pressuring here, but Beta, again, just surviving for so long.
I mean, it just sucks. It's really hard to kill this Mario right now, though. Having your limit is what's going to work. It's one big risk just to pop out, and now you don't have it. The bigger problem now is that Beta is the one who's gotten on the stage and who's taking control over it.
That was a...
Ow.
Yeah, no, that one hurt. I mean, Legacy, you're at options there when you recover low. That dash attack doesn't allow Cloud to snap to ledge, and then I think it was Nair that ended up trading with Beta. So now Legacy all of a sudden on his last stock, and I don't think we've ever seen a player on DePaul get 3 stocks before, and Beta might be the first, but as I say it, that forward tilt nearly killing. Beta would have to play near perfect on this stock for that to happen in the first place. But that being said, Legacy finds the up air out of being hit and ends up taking the first stock off the board.
That was incredibly close coming into the 3-stock scenario, and Legacy last week showed us the ability to use Cloud in creative ways. I think that's what we need to look out for now, just from the fact that, this is going very hand in hand, very almost fundamental in the way that we're seeing them play. Legacy not going for any different styles as they did once before. I think Beta is very easily starting to, has been reading how it goes, and it's not going to look great if Legacy wants to be able to make this comeback.
That was a really good nair, and that's just it. Legacy's out of options. No jumps left. That up B's not going to be there, and neither will the limit break. And Beta with a solid showing in game number 1.
You know, I get the fact that I said that our first match, would definitely show what new tips and tricks and, what sauces they're adding into our spaghetti. But I did not expect to be eating some stromboli today. And that makes no sense. It's just how this match looked, definitely breaking those expectations. And I've got to say, absolutely love to see it, though Legacy may not. It only caused more problems in the end, and I feel it's only going to cause more, especially since they didn't have enough room to really use those limit breaks to their highest factor.
Yeah, the limit breaks we never really saw come online there. That first stock he's eliminated before he gets the chance to even use it. Beta really not giving Legacy the time he needs to try and set up anything for himself. The other thing to note here too is that when Cloud is off stage, Beta did such a good job of pressuring, right? It's one thing to recognize, hey, I can take advantage of this matchup off stage. That trade right there was actually wild. The up B coming out early, and still Beta found the hitbox he needed to take that stock. But also just Beta did a very good job of spacing around in neutral and finding all the little advantages. That up air missing allowed the up air for Cloud to take that stock, from Legacy to take that stock and get it down to 2-1. But Beta spacing around a lot of these moves, and then just the recognition of, hey, I've got advantage, let me press all the way here, allowed him to really command that first game.
If there's anybody who can master a skill that would make me shiver to my nails on my toes, it would definitely be neutral. You just get so much control, and you can set up for basically a free win like that, and I think that shows some ideas. Now the question goes into Legacy possibly wanting to either switch up the styles or kind of commit onto this Cloud and try to push it out as hard as you can, but I feel, especially coming from the Mario, it may be more difficult than it's worth.
We'll have to see. I mean, again, we've only recently seen Legacy for the side of DePaul made his first appearance last week and looked very strong. This is Weber State's first appearance on stream. They actually took a loss last week. They didn't have enough players ready to play, so they ended up just forfeiting their game last week. This week, with no real scouting info, DePaul is going in blind here, and Beta, he's stepping up big. Again, DePaul, the #1 seed currently in the EGF, undefeated. Best round differential, best point differential. There's a high standard for the Blue Devils to live up to, and Beta right now knocking them down for it.
Well, we're relying on these statistics to help move us forward, but maybe that's the part that we need to realize, is that the Beta is not from what we know and is ready to kind of break it out. Legacy may already build that limit breaker, but is already close to this kill percentage. It really doesn't have any room. Look at that. The limit breaker gone as fast as it came.
The limit break there being interrupted too by, I believe it was the down air of Beta, so a lot of kill power off the board. Both still, well, at least Beta kind of in that mid% range. Legacy starting to get up into those kill percent ranges. I do like the stage pick too for Kalos. Buys him a little bit more space to work with. That being said, trying to play patience on this recovery, and it's just not going to work out. Beta covered just about everything in the book there, and Legacy loses his first stop.
I feel like Beta has just practiced how to stop somebody from getting on the stage and just put all of them into effect at that moment. Poor Legacy had no way to get on, and while Cloud may not have one of the better or worse recovery, it's all about the control over the map, and you're not getting too much of it, though. Finding Beta out and now set up, this is where George can start to shine. Having the limit breaker has always been one of those big points coming out of them.
Tricky recovery there, and I actually like that a lot, using the wall jump to try and save the usage of that up B. Remember, the more you use a move, the more it kind of stales out, and he even got around the limit break neutral B. as well. Nearly died for it, but now has the turnaround here, has the drop on Legacy. Legacy uses the down air to get back to stage. And with stage control, getting in on the sortie is going to be difficult, but it's something that Beta's done a very good job of so far. A lot of pressure around the shield, and the back air still not killing. Beta's at 170. This is a really uncharacteristic of DePaul not being able to take these stocks at such high percents.
Beta's got the Game Shark on right now. It has turned on. I am not getting out of this stage. It's almost been impressive, though it seems you're going to be following through to your own machination. Still, Legacy at 102. It's not really the percentage that's worth kind of going up against Phil. Once more, Legacy may need to just, instead of going in for that aggression as we've been thinking, just kind of play more passive. React to how Beta works and punish it.
Quick 64 off of that limit combo that he was able to pull off just now. The Legacy carefully, quickly snapping the ledge. Good back air to get the reversal here on Beta. Beta losing that first stock really because he didn't get the wall jump and upbeat a little bit too late, but still has a lot of control over the stage here. Good up air to get the drop on Beta once more, and Legacy is starting to find those few more openings, and all of a sudden the percents seem a lot more even. Beta at 91 could be killed, but the back air from Beta will actually take the stock off of Legacy, and now Legacy on his last stock here on Kalos.
As much as Legacy is changing up their style, Beta has already identified what's going on, and we can see them, instead of kind of more engaging, just waiting for these setups, waiting for Legacy to get hit onto these cooldowns, and then lightly punish it to do these damage, and that's a shining point coming out of a new player. Legacy is more struggling of just kind of adapting to the adaptations of the adapting. It's like generations of change.
That combo is very scary. That's a upbeat from Legacy. The turnaround off the shield actually takes the stock. So last stock scenario here, Legacy at 69%, now up to 84 off of that quick Halo combo from Beta. Just so much pressure. There's nowhere for Legacy to go. Nearly a forward smash. Beta takes a trade there. Down there, not going to land from Legacy. Remember, if Legacy doesn't win this one, then Beta will take the set, and he's got his back against the wall right now. Flood not going to land. Early upbeat to get himself to the other side of the stage. Grab comes through. This should be a forward throw, and Legacy's off stage. Out of options. That Nair will do it, and Beta takes the first set for Weber State.
I gotta say, a very, very nice showing. And I think that's a statement made for the rest of the scene right now. I mean, you're coming in as a new squad, going up against a player who had such an impressive showing for their first showing last week. And it seemed that, you know, just the Mario, the stereotypical Nintendo character, the one voiced by Chris Pratt, was able to kind of make that difference and, you know, make a big opening for the team, especially for the first game.
Huge showing here from Beta, and you know, we talk all about the numbers for DePaul and how great these numbers are, how prolific they are, undefeated, #1 in round differential and point differential. But Legacy is one of the newer players to this roster, and it can kind of be hard to counterpick a team that you don't know what you're going up against. And Beta certainly showed that he is ready for this stage, getting the 2-0 over Legacy. Felt like he, you know, saw the type of matchup he was in, you know, Mario versus a sortie, and said, I know exactly what I can take advantage of. I just have to get myself into that situation in the first place, and was able to do just that.
Man, it's by far one of my favorite things of having a roster so big. And no matter the character, these matchups, while they may seem similar, are always going to have those individual differences that'll make, you know, those points. That's what every fighting game should look to diversify, especially when going into popularity. It's just who's going to play what character, why are they playing it, and what factors are going to change if I switch. And I think the Mario definitely shows kind of those great ideas. You know, the most stereotypical character is already so strong, especially against Cloud.
In Legacy, too, he falls to 1-1 on the year, but by no means is this a sign of things to come. I mean, Legacy, again, we saw last week how strong he looked in his performance. It was just that Beta right now, I mean, he came to play. There's no other way to really say it. He was all over, you know, every little advantage, I don't want to say it was opportunistic because Beta did such a good job of creating his own opportunities. And then the instant recognition of, okay, this character's off stage. I know how to edge guard them. Let me put myself immediately into that scenario. The second he can't grab ledge, I'm going for the nair early off stage. He's going to try and, dip low on that recovery. Let me use the slide of that dash attack to make sure he gets sent off stage again. And it was just kind of rinse repeat for those edge guards. And even in neutral, his spacing was just immaculate at times. So very strong showing from him. Weber State, they get up to a 5-0 lead in the very first set. And again, we don't typically see DePaul in these types of scenarios. And like we mentioned, Weber State now gets to send in their next player, but we don't really know who that is because this is their first time on stream. So DePaul, they have to kind of blind counterpick here. I'm curious to see who they opt to send in. We're getting word of those players now. I believe it's Diura going in for Weber State, and it's going to be Cookie being locked in for the side of the Blue Devils. Cookie, we saw last week. I was under the assumption that he was still riding the Bayonetta, but his Min looked very, very good against that Montana team that we saw just a week ago.
You make a great point, especially Min as a character. I mean, if you go back and you check my reaction, I was caught off guard on the ideas and what the Min was able to get away with. That range is absolutely insane. And I feel they're not going to be looking on who to counterpick, but rather who can play the best at this moment. I think this is where you give your trust into your players to fully adapt against an opponent that you have no idea what they have, especially when, out of all the maps we go on Final Destination, a possible Min could very much shine, and I think it's going to work better in their favor.
Yeah, Cookie, one of these players too. We talked about him last week, how we didn't see him a lot in terms of the fall split this season, but he was a big part of the team last season, had some key moments, and he's a player that I think I talked a little bit about him being a momentum player, but I think after last week, he's become more of the adaptive player. He's kind of taken back from that, I'm just going to ride this and see, how far I can go. Now he's very much so with this Min kind of changed his play style to be that kind of control the pace, see how they adapt, and then counter punch from there.
Definitely agree to kind of add the idea. And more than anything, you kind of went into my mind and guessed what I was going to say when it came down to how the styles have changed when it comes to Cookie. And, I think Cookie will give us a showing to see if, maybe that first match was kind of just a fluke. Maybe not a fluke, but maybe it was just a really good round for their opponents, and what will happen next.
We'll have to see. For the side of Weber State, again, we don't have a lot of info on them, but we can talk about kind of the standings and how this is a good opportunity to look at how the league has sort of shifted with a lot of these new teams being added, the Big Sky Conference being added over the break. There was some reformatting of how the teams were redistributed. So both of these teams that we're seeing here are in the Central Conference, and DePaul, they lead that Central Conference pretty single-handedly, 9-0, but they were in a very close two-horse race with the defending EGF champions of Mississippi State. However, with teams like Weber State, Sacramento State, and Montana all shifting in, they have been moved to the Central Conference, and Mississippi State, along with UTA, who we'll see in the very next match, they got moved to the Eastern Conference. So now DePaul, they sort of have this kind of streamlined-ish victory of or at least number one seed locked in for a possible Central Conference win, because no one else is really that close to them. That being said, if Weber State come in here and get this upset, it could really shift the balance, because you're starting to see a lot of these teams in the Central Conference, teams like Marquette and Colorado, who are right in the middle of the pack, they were playoff teams. Marquette was almost a playoff team last year. Colorado was the dark horse. Hawaii was another team that was a playoff team last year. It is such a compact conference of talent that it's going to be really heartbreaking for any one of these schools to miss out on playoffs. It makes these matches all the more important. These in-division games are just of the utmost priority for both of these organizations.
You say it best, but now there is no more time for speaking. Wait, that's our job. There is still time more for speaking as the matches go in. Robin versus Min Min, not a matchup I would have ever guessed on, but definitely one that I'm interested in seeing. We'll have kind of interesting ways to take these matchups, but one is a lot more resource heavy.
Very true. Both can contest from a distance, but Diarra is going to be kind of in a questionable spot because they have to manage those spells, whereas Cookie, they've always got those arms ready, and that reach is ever dangerous. Diarra using that neutral B to buy some space for themselves. And on Final Destination 2, this is a very volatile stage. The rich get richer here because you can just push your advantage so far. That being said, Diarra very low on all of these spells at the moment. Gonna have to approach somehow through all of the range of Cookie here. Both playing very careful. That was such a smart up smash from Cookie.
I mean, you know, I think this is just a given, or more of a showing that Cookie's saying, hey, we can play a ranged character, but I am going to beat you. My attacks are going to land while yours are going to be missing out, and it's not going to be really looking good for the Robin. I feel they're just a little bit too telegraphed. Kind of just have to mix things up, maybe play a little more aggressive and rely on your weapons.
Diarra already at 98% here, and that not gonna take the kill quite yet, but the follow through from Cookie, and just the ability of Cookie right now to track down the movement of Diarra. There's nowhere for this Robin to go. Diarra slowly running out of options, but they got Cookie at a high percent. There's a chance they could take a stock here. Gets the back throw, looking for possibly a neutral beat, goes off stage for the forward air instead, and the spike of the up B recovery coming through here and taking the first stock off the board of Cookie.
Being able to come in, manage to bring out that stock, that's what's looking good. But you've gotta respect the range when it comes out, especially the deflex. I mean, it's not something that I instantly do that someone like a Cookie could do, but I gotta say, it is a good addition to this matchup. I think more than anything, this is what Cookie's trying to figure out. How do I confidently get on the stage without giving my opponent a lot of room to play?
Diarra is in a lot of trouble here. Is able to snap back to the ledge, but they are out of that spell book that allows them to recover, and that back air nearly getting the kill, but the track down from Cookie! My goodness, where do you have to go? Cookie with the snipe to take game one.
Cookie saw how the first match went and said, you know what, let's show you how it feels to go up in a competitive match, you know, as close as it can be and as stressful as possible, though that this slam just deserves some also shout-outs. I mean, just look at it. Up B may have not been on purpose because you had to recover no matter what, but it was still a shining point. But you gotta give a lot of love to Cookie. The mid has been working out to such a beautiful way, factor, degree, whatever kind of simile that I want to try and use. I feel that it's almost oppressive against Weber.
Yeah, Diarra right now certainly has their back against the wall because Cookie, the range of Min is one thing to deal with, but also the speed that those arms come out at. It doesn't give Robin as a character the time to really charge up those projectiles. And even here, Cookie is so smart too by recognizing, hey, this arm is going to fall, so the level still stays the same. It's not just covering at a kind of flat line. They'll fall with me and I can still cover him. Here, that spike, that's a kind of a strange hitbox. It looked like Cookie might have been above either way, but still, Cookie's recognition of the ability to take advantage of the little things, right? The quick arms for the range, the falling through of the edge guarding, and even the reflector, right? He didn't threaten that reflector the entirety of the first stock, and then seemingly out of nowhere, when he seems like his back is against the wall, let me just kick that kick that projectile right back at you, and all of a sudden he's back in the lead.
My goodness. Let's just be glad Min has lasers and not just literal guns like Joker. I feel that'd be the biggest threat when it comes down. Min lands most of their hits, and the bloodthirst when it comes down to it is going well. However, on a map as beautiful as Animal Crossing of all, is Cookie gonna have the heart to just, absolutely look to take out the Robin? I still feel like a yes.
I mean, already up 82%. First real hit on the Cookie, but Diarra nowhere to run, able to air dodge around that swing there from the laser. But I like the idea from Diarra here. Give yourself a smaller stage to work with, force Cookie to box a bit more. But Diarra just doesn't have time or room to work with. And that's going to connect. That's going to be the stock. And Cookie has only been hit once so far this stock.
I mean, Cookie is just looking to be as aggressive as possible. Doesn't care as much about defense. It's just more looking to take these little bit hits of damage and then go in, punch you in the face, blast you in the face, whatever analogy you kind of want to go in. It's more of Robin trying to figure out what is the best way to walk into this push.
And Robin doesn't have a ton of tools to do that, as both hits connect. That's going to be the stock, and oh my goodness, Cookie, he's on the verge of a 3-stock here, but now he's at kill percentage. Any strong hit along this ledge might be able to do it. Smashville is a smaller stage, but DR, they need to find these strong hits in the first place, and they cannot find the edge guard. That snap to ledge just too quick. The speed of Cookie right now is something DR does not really have a clean way to deal with.
I mean, Robin is really good at zoning, but edge guarding, I wouldn't say so. And unfortunately, landing a little bit too far down, not able to get that recovery in. That's a 3-stock.
And all of a sudden, the narrative has flipped once again. We thought Weber State, maybe this is their time to shine, but DePaul said, no, we're not going anywhere. They are back in the lead after that 3-stock. A solid showing from Cookie in this second set, and he was all over this matchup from the get-go.
If I'm honest, I just don't like the way it was done. I mean, Cookie just came in and looked so beautiful. I would have preferred, a little bit of sandbagging. I would have preferred a little bit of just, oh no, the Robin is being able to counter me out. And that's just solely because it builds a better story. But I mean, maybe this is just what we need to focus on. And this is the fact that even if this team is coming new in, they have players with talent, It's still really impressive. And maybe this was just a bad matchup, not used to going up against the Min, but still, the first match, second match, this is looking to be a series.
Yeah, very even as both teams with one set apiece through the first two. Cookie, credit where credit's due. I mean, not only was he all over this matchup, but he gets the strong hitbox here, the follow-up of the first arm, and then look at the distance that he can cover, too, just to get right on the edge of Diarra. That is mastery of the character right there, knowing immediately how you can follow up, where the opponent is going to be after the first couple hits. And Cookie, I mean, again, we talked about him being an adaptive player, after what we saw last week, but what he really does on this character is he's showing he can play to kind of multiple styles. He can be that momentum-based player or that adaptive-based player. He can control the pace of a game, or he can find a way to battle back if need be. Even in that very first game, I think back to game one, where he finds that reflector, right? You think, okay, this Robin has some pressure. This is his chance to push. And all of a sudden, it just gets flipped on its head. And that's the mark of a good player, right? Is that when your back is against the wall, what do you do? And Cookie here in this set, even though he was pressed, he found a way to get the job done.
Maybe Cookie isn't even worried about countering. Cookie is just looking to play their own game and is looking to trying to kind of beat down onto you. That's definitely something that I feel is a shining moment of the player. And I mean, with that mesh, DePaul, they kind of bring themselves into a more comfortable setting. They're not going to be stressing that they're on the back foot, but they aren't out of the woods just yet. I mean, our next matchup is very close in. We still don't know what Weber are going to run. And that's basically the big point that I really want to emphasize is how much we lack an understanding we can't really make those predictions. We can't say, well, DePaul, they've got this. They're going to be able to walk and send this player out, wipe the dust off their hands. It's scary not knowing the truth.
Yeah, and also on the flip side of this, if you're Weber State, you don't have a lot of info going in. You have info on, who these teams play and, how, they like to play in theory, but you also don't know how to gauge yourself against your opponent until you really, truly 1v1 them, right? So Weber State, not knowing this is the championship team, or at least championship caliber team. They were in grand finals. They're independent conference champions. It's trial by fire for them because they hop in with, in the middle of the season, and they get almost exclusively conference games from here. So all of the games are extra important for them. They get minimal warm-up time, I guess, in theory of the rest of these teams that had that fall split to kind of get acclimated. It is just, from the get-go, they have to adapt to a championship caliber team. So to keep pace with them through the first two sets, very good mark. Now here's the critical third set where the momentum can really swing. Things are even now, and DePaul, they have locked in Ikana as their third player, that Younglink player that we saw last week. He has been on fire this season. 8-1 in his very first season in the EGF. Very strong player for the side of the Blue Devils. Yep has been locked in for Weber State. And again, we don't have info on Yep, but we can talk about this Younglink because Younglink is a character we really don't see in the EGF all that often. But I mean, Ikana has shown, this is a character that you got to be able to watch out for. Tons of speedy projectiles, still a lot of combo ability, and a strange amount of kill power from a character that maybe doesn't strike you as the most threatening at first. But believe me, when you get hit by things like that up B, the forward smash, it hurts a ton.
I mean, I absolutely love Younglink. Younglink was one of my first characters when I played in, so I'll give you that verification. I'll give you those thumbs up when I say that you're absolutely right, and it can almost be a little bit scary to go up against, and I think that's a given due to the fact that Younglink can work in any type of style. It has the range, it has the mobility, and it's not as floaty comparably to the other forms of Link, nor as heavy. I think it's one of those more even characters and can be a threat if left unchecked to play however you want, and I think that kind of more goes into if I'm going up against a Younglink, how do I want to limit their options? How do I want to close the distance and make sure that I can confirm a smash? Because even if they are falling from the earth and they can just down smash, there's nothing you can do against that.
Yeah, the number one thing I remember about Ikana, especially from last week, is that they do a very good job of setting themselves up for success. Ikana hasn't necessarily gone against some of the heaviest of hitters, right? They haven't gone against some of the flashiest of players like Yosefu from Mississippi State, or some of the proverbial anchors, let's say. But that's not to say that Ikana has had it easy. Ikana has had some matchups where they've struggled. The thing is that Ikana, in terms of playstyle, setting themselves up for success in terms of their spacing. I remember them connecting a lot of the fire arrows or neutral bees, the boomerangs, bombs into an aerial, into neutral air, into forward air. And that's the bread and butter of Younglink. And it's not always the easiest thing in the world to do, but they just have a very good mastery of their spacing and their movement. And that's what we saw last week. This week, we'll have to see if it's still on point for them, or if Weber State can have this kind of counter pick. Young Link is a character that has a lot of options in terms of how to deal with a lot of things, right? They've got this shield that can deal with projectiles if they are standing still or crouched. They've got projectiles to match the distance of other characters. They've got a sword so that they can kind of deal with brawlers. The real big downside, I think, of a character like Young Link is that they are a very light character. They will die typically a little earlier, so we're not probably going to see what we saw in game number 1, where characters are living up to 140 and plus percentage. That's a highly unlikely option. Also, recovery can be a little bit susceptible if you do get above that up B, but you have to space it very properly. So that in mind, Akana on the Young Link. Ness going to be locked in as the character for Yep. So the Ness back on stream, another Ness here in the EGF, and the Nesses in the EGF have had a lot of success in the past. We'll see what Yep can bring to the stage.
I mean, listen, I definitely love seeing the Young Link, but I love seeing that Ness because every Ness player, they go differently. But I mean, just take a second to see how the Young Link's able to adapt and play against already, making a good statement, does more than enough to kind of counteract the PK fires, how this Ness wants to be able to move. It's almost kind of weird to see the Ness struggling to actually use their abilities.
Yeah, and right now, Yep, it feels like he wants to play that boxing game. He wants to get in on onto Akana and, be in their face, pressure them, not allow them to use all these projectiles, but he just doesn't have the time. That up B nearly connecting, that could have been the stock, but no dice. The snap to ledge, that was such a huge pickup from Yep. The Zaire back to stage gets caught by the yo-yo, and Akana is the first to fall here.
Really doesn't matter what type of lead you take yourself. I think it's more mattering on how you're being able to win these fights. However, forcing the leap into the air, making them think you're going to use a projectile, that's a good way to kind of bait out the resources of your opponent. Yep, has to be more cautious now going up against. You can eat as much as you want, but Akana is able to get away with kind of a lot when it goes into this matchup.
That was a huge opportunity by Yep. Couldn't find the forward smash though, and Cookie, he is at kill percent here at 97, so he's got to play very carefully. That stock off the board has really kind of shifted the momentum, and Akana really wants to turn his back to throw these projectiles just to try and buy some space, but that's when Yep is taking his opportunity to move in with these forward airs. But that's a clean combo. That's not going to be able to take the stock quite yet. That up B, very close, but no chance yet. Both have very high percents. Good clean back air, but that's not a kill move quite yet, and they're not going to land either. And just playing very dangerously, both of them on shield. That's a yo-yo instead of a grab. Another opportunity gone by the wayside.
I just love how much both of them are playing so spaced out and yet still throwing their abilities, wanting to hit each other as much as possible. This goes into the question of if whoever gets this next hit, are they the ones who's going to fall off the stage? I think so, yes. Akana is able to just burst that Ness down.
Akana with a clean pickup there, and that's another thing that Akana has done very well throughout. Even last week we saw it a couple of times, but this season, when he sees that someone's about to tech on that platform, he immediately goes for that down air. It's a very smart pickup, because that down air, we don't see it a whole ton because it's very slow and it's hard to spike with, but it does a ton of knockback. That's a clean drag down by Yep, however, to answer right back. Gets the back throw, and the stocks are even.
Already a good statement of how close these matchups are, and there's really nothing these players can do besides from just trying to pick a pattern and punish it. It seems that Yep is the one who's often getting these high percentages very early on. Just take a second to look at that combo!
Akana is on fire. That is what we were talking about with those projectile combos and a 0 to death practically for the side of DePaul to kick off the third set between these two. That was very back and forth for a time, but he took his one opening and he leapt all over it here. The bomb into the boomerang, into the double jump forward air, cleans up this first game. But that was very scary for both these players for a long period of time.
You know, I'm glad that we have Icana's name as Cookie, because that was just as dirty as when Cookie played. You know, just these players going up against themselves must be like the world's biggest training arc. It's better than any Attack on Titan episode, and I gotta say that I'm absolutely kind of more in interest of how these matchups were going on, and especially Yep's big reliance on trying to counter out the ranged attacks by eating them. And yes, that does give a little bit more healing, but I feel it very much got a lot more predictable. And as you saw, the bombs, they don't get eaten. And so Yep kind of forced themselves into that very uncomfortable space. And, well, you shot yourself into oblivion now. You've got to make those changes if you want to be able to beat the young Link champion.
Yeah, the down B, I believe it's Side Magnet from Ness. It doesn't absorb Young Link's projectiles, but it can mess with them like the bomb, like you saw. It does not, I believe it doesn't absorb the arrow either, and I don't think it reflects it either. So, yep, that tool has kind of been neutralized for the most part, even though you saw him make a little bit of use of it in that first game. They're kind of doing a good job of, once again, controlling the pace here. And Yep seems to be the one who really wants to engage, who wants to go forward. The explosion of the bomb you're seeing there can be absorbed. It's just the bomb hitbox itself will not do as much.
There's more of just Yep spending a lot of time actually just trying to figure out how to walk into that. It's a punishment in on itself. I mean, just look, stocks down, and now you're back in that same spot, thinking to yourself, how do I go up against this? Every time I jump in the air, there's a boomerang. When I land, there's a fire arrow. It's oppressive, and it's exactly what Icana is known for.
Clean conversion there to take that first stock, and now Icana at 62% after those last couple of hits. Yep, looking for his opening. Trades there with the boomerang to get that side B off, so Icana now at kill percentage. Yep, still looking for a kill move, though. Gets a couple more down tilts in. Eats another boomerang for his actions, though. Side B, getting even more percent on, and I believe that was Nair coming out and trading, and Yep is on the board.
That was a really good adaptation, just being able to pop out. Especially just kind of the counterplay. This is now Yep bringing in some speed. Notice how Yep is playing extremely close, looking to be as annoying as possible to stop Icana from being able to take a moment to use the boomerang or anything. But then, once they do, it starts to look a bit messy, which is why Yep is spending a lot of time pressing W.
That was a clean combo. The drag down from Icana to buy himself a little bit more time on this stock and put Yep at kill percentage. Forward air not going to connect. That grab, though, is huge. Back throw. Not going to take the stock quite yet. Forward air won't connect. Neither will the Nair. The down air is used, and the grab comes out quickly from Icana. Arrow into the boomerang. Another arrow. No follow-up on the forward air again. Pressuring the shield with all these quick projectiles. Followed up by the up air, and Icana just quick to the trigger there on that second stock.
Gotta say, nice way to start putting this back into your favor, but maybe have a little bit more respect when it comes down to the usage of your abilities. But as I say it, they just pay off, so maybe I kind of just know a little more than I will ever, because Yep is starting to panic and is looking desperate to get these hits off, solely to get this kill.
That up smash will connect after the side B. And I love what Icana is doing. He's making such good use of that boomerang. Just every time Yep wants to get a combo going or wants to move in, the backtracking of the boomerang, the line that it comes back to Young Link at, it's right where Yep wants to be, and it ends up being a trade rather than a combo in favor of Yep. It just feels like all these trades, too, the longer they trade for, it goes in Akana's favor. He's at the lower percent here. Yep's already at kill percentage. That Nair is going to be huge, though, and Akana just controlling center stage for it.
It's just so annoying, more than anything, of trying to break through this young Link, especially being at this high percentage. One good smash, one good down air will just take you out. And I mean, that wasn't a down air, so it doesn't count. I'm not wrong.
Use a lot of these nairs to rack up that percentage, but you are right. Just about any strong move now should kill, including that forward air, and it will do it. Akana able to take game 2, and DePaul extend their lead after 3.
A very impressive showing that we've got to see today, and honestly, I think one of the bigger points of that match was just more of the understanding of matchup, especially against two characters that are really good at being just as annoying as possible. And that's a very broad term too, but just more of limiting how you really get to play the game. I feel these are what the characters really shine at, and those are what the styles really benefit off. And while Yep does have their own style using that reflector, it's not really a reflector. You know, I forget what the move exactly is called, but I like to call it the Big E. The Big E, you know, very much a usage and ability of trying to slow down the descent or mess up with the pacing, does not work as well. It kind of just had really good adaptation and wasn't really being knocked off the stage, which is, you know, Ness's more high ground, being able to just punish you from being in the air for too long.
Both players had very good adaptation. It was just Akana's was a little bit faster to the punch. Yep had a really good change of pace when he realized, hey, this boxing style is not going to work. I need to land something or get something, some control of center stage or something before I move in, before I try and, you know, press my attack here. And what ended up happening was that he was using that side B in the air a lot more often. He was using that kind of sideways angle that it's sent at when you're in the air rather than on the ground, because when you're on the ground it will just go straight forward, but when you're in the air it takes that kind of sideways angle, and that allowed him, you know, a little bit more space to work with, especially when you're dealing with all the projectiles of Young Link. Think of the boomerang, think of the bomb. They come at you at specific angles. So he was able to find that kind of sweet spot in between. But speaking of sweet spots, Akana was sweet spotting everything, right? Those projectiles just kept finding their mark, and he was in the right place at the right time in order to capitalize. I think one of the other things too was you were talking about the use of down air. Possibly, and we only really saw that once, but the up airs that came through later on in that set, think of the up B that was followed up by the up air, I believe on that second stock in that last game, also coming through in the clutch. We never saw a move like up smash. He wasn't waiting for, you know, Ness to land, which is something a lot of players will do. When you get someone up in the air, when you juggle them for so long, you wait for him to land and then you punish. That's not Akana. He goes up there and says, no, I'm going to hunt you down in the sky first, because that's where my advantage is. And you saw how it came to fruition here and how he was able to grab the lead with it.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And, you know, I just paid attention a little too heavily on one small thing. So now, especially with kind of just how the next matchup is going to be, I feel DePaul, they're probably feeling a lot more confident, but Weber, they have not been slacking at all. You know, I definitely don't want to give them a point to where we look at them and say, you know, the points they're losing, they just got stocked. I gotta say, the Ness performance was still really good. And they're running a lot of characters to which we've seen extensive experience on. So, you know, to look at them and say that they can be a competitor, you know, it's not many teams that you can really see come in and, you know, you get that comfortability.
Yeah, I mean, Akana is one of these players that for DePaul, he's typically getting, you know, an average of, you know, 6 points on the board for the side of the Blue Devils. So to hold him to, you know, really one stock apiece at the end of the day, that's a huge thing for kind of the newcomers to the EGF, where we don't really know where they kind of find their spot to go up against the champions and hold them to these very close matches. It bodes well for them in the future, right? Because this experience is going to really, play a part as this season goes on. I mean, I think back to last season when we had some newcomers like George Washington, who we'll see later. Even teams like University of Tennessee, when they were here, they came into the league, and we weren't really sure how they were going to do because they ended up playing against each other in their very first matches. And then from there on, we got to see how they played against the rest of the league. And all of a sudden, George Washington has kind of emerged as one of these dark horse teams. They can compete with a lot of the higher ups. Even last week, they just took down Mississippi State, the defending champions. That's a huge victory for them. So Weber State, they're trying to find their way into that kind of category of we can compete with the best of the best. And right now, they're right there with them, but a lot rides on this fourth set for them. They're down 6 points, which again, not insurmountable by any means, but you do need a very solid victory to come back. And you're going to have to do it against Floral for the side of DePaul. And Floral, that is a scary prospect. Floral 3-1 on the season. This Roy, it looked very clean the last time we saw it. Numerous times that jab to back air is just, a deadly combo, and he was very clean at pulling that off. We're still waiting to see, I believe it is Bingus on the side of Weber State being locked in. Again, no information, but if you look at Floral for the side of DePaul, 3-1 Roy. Roy's a scary character to go against. Just very quick and a lot of quick kill options as well.
Yeah, I very much agree. I think Roy is by far one of the more scarier when it comes to the Fire Emblem characters in the best ways of saying it, and that's just because I think he can do a lot of damage really quickly, and that, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the big threat level that comes into Roy.
Yeah, no, Floral on this Roy, I think Roy's in general, the things that play to their advantage is A, their speed, and B, their kill power. The side B, the multiple, I believe it's called Sword Dance or something along those lines. That is a very strong move, covers a lot of space. It does have a lot of end lag, so it can be punished, but it can kill surprisingly early. Things like back air and forward air, even forward tilt is another good one. The trick to Roy is that his sword is, well, it almost works backwards. Or actually, I think it works more realistically, where the strong portion of the sword is actually closest to the hilt. So you don't get to use as much distance with Roy. If you get the tipper hitbox, it doesn't really do anything. But if you hit him in the hilt, if you are hitting him in the very close section of the sword, that's where the sweet spot is for Roy. And so the downside of this character is that while you have that kind of disjoint of the sword, you don't necessarily get to use it all that often. And this character's recovery is a little bit lacking among the Fire Emblem department, right? Of all the Fire Emblem characters, Roy's recovery is probably the worst when you look at characters like Byleth. Even characters like Marth, their up B just goes farther. Lucina in the same boat. You could argue maybe Ike and Crom, but they also have a lot more verticality, I believe, to their up B. So we'll have to see how they go. I actually, to be honest, I said Roy, and then I was like, wait, no, Crom and Ike exist. Yeah. But we will have to see. Oh, by the way, the name of that side B move is the Double Edge Dance, and I believe that move, it's at times like as strong as Cloud Limit side B. It is ridiculously strong, but it does again have a lot of end lag to it.
I mean, you're just absolutely right on that idea. It's gonna matter what even kind of changes will go into that style onto a mystery, a phantom opponent, if we want to give it a more Nintendo type name. And it does seem, out of everyone, it is going to be Captain Falcon, the kneeing god, as I'd like to say, just because that knee could be absolutely devastating. Though they are both fire elementals and very quick. I wonder who's really going to take the edge in this.
Yeah, I feel like this is another type of matchup. I talk about Final Destination always being like a double-edged sword where, you know, you can just push your advantage. I feel like these are two characters where that's just going to be the case. Whoever has the advantage, they can just push all the way to possibly the end of a stock if they really so choose. But Bingus, that's a side B and not an up B, so he will lose his first stock. That being said, Captain Falcon does have the tools to compete with the speed of this Roy.
You're absolutely right, especially trying to crush them down. The bigger problem that comes into Captain Falcon is just trying to connect against Flora. While Flora really doesn't have to connect, Flora just has to hit you, and then boom, small chunk of your health, again, a small chunk of your health, and as we see, it just continues on.
That forward smash landing and nearly taking the stock as well. The side B comes through. There it is. The double-edged dance taking the stock, and all of a sudden, Bingus is down to 1.
It's really hard to kind of play this Captain Falcon, especially since Bingus is more looking to take these very straightforward hits, and Flora is just perfectly reading it, saying, hey, you can try, but I'll take a step back, wait for you to do this, and then like that. That's a dance if I've ever seen one. Going for that 3 stock, barely over that 50%.
That was a fierce battle.
Yeah, and Floral all over this one in game number 1. That was a strong showing to say the least. Bingus could not get anything really started, and Floral just punished accordingly every single time. Look at all the damage that move does, and then yes, when you're at 123, that final slash of the sword there, yeah, that is a damaging move.
And it did collapse it in the end. As much as I'd like that Captain Falcon, play style, he is a very linear character, and that's what makes his attack so good. But that also is what makes him really hard to play, especially going against somebody like, look at that small edge miss and then kills. It's beautiful. That's what Roy's going to be able to abuse. If you keep going the same way, you look insane.
If I remember correctly, Falcon is one of those characters that notoriously struggles with sorties because they are that boxer, right? They have to find a way in against the disjoint. But look at all the percent that this side B does in the first place. And this is the one that sends all the way across. You can opt to change the angles. You could opt to send them upward to do more damage, or I believe the downward angle of that move does very good shield pressure, but that's the one that's meant to kill. That full side B slash across, like you saw, just very, very strong. And a lot of Roys also kind of use that sparingly, right? They use it if they are trying to cover a certain space specifically. And you saw Captain Falcon was in that space a lot. So yes, Floral is going to use that move, and I expect to see it a lot more in game number 2.
I definitely agree. You just take a second, breathe. Captain Falcon may not have many games, but still has a lot to show for, especially with the next map looking to be town. I can definitely see this kind of changing in the way that the Roy playstyle can get away with, and maybe we'll be able to see a lot more when it comes down to just Bingus his own combos.
Town and City, the site of game number 2, and Bingus, oh no! That is not the way to start off this match if you are Weber State. That is a stock off the board, and Floral has not been touched so far. Now a lot of momentum in DePaul's favor. Definitely
agree. Now just Bingus has to work up a very tough hill. It's just not looking too great, as Flora very much looking to just use anything in their pocket to look for these hits, and now Bingus unable to get to the stage and being guarded. That's just rude.
all the sour spots in the world right now for Floral, but they're all connecting, and yeah, Bingus is out of options. He's going to down B into the blast zone, get that stock over with. He knows he couldn't make it back to stage either way, the way Floral was able to edge guard him, but now a chance here. Stomp, follow-up, dash attack, and Floral able to get away. No knee landed there by Bingus. The side B comes through again. Off stage once more. Early up B, not going to be landed quite yet. And Floral, he is at kill percentage, 100 now on the board here, but Bingus just cannot find a great opportunity to land one of those famous strong hits. Even there, finds the shield with the knee.
Not the knee, but the best ability in this game, just failing to the most powerful one, the shield. Bingus is very much looking to just go very experimental, trying basically anything in their pocket, and it works. You're able to confuse your opponent a little bit, but you have to play a little more greedy here. You just gotta look for these kill opportunities, not with the same ability over and over again, obviously, but, you know, you still have to go for it.
Those Falcon kicks finding their mark, but that kind of sideways angle is not going to have the knockback that Bingus needs in order to find a way to take the stock, but that's a lot of rage on this Roy. 63 finds a strong hitbox of that forward air. He is able to snap back to ledge, but now those platforms are gone. Where do you go? There's nowhere to run to, and Floral with the 3 stock in set number 4.
Now the true battle begins.
And you know, Roy probably makes some really good chicken, because, you know, Captain Falcon has just lost the Falcon part of their name. That doesn't make any sense. Let's just continue on to the analysis. And I mean, the edge guarding from Flora was very good. I mean, there's no other definition to put it. It's just making sure that you're going for these kill confirms is beautiful. A lot of players sometimes may not go for it because they know their opponent's going to fall off, or they feel that, hey, they get back on the stage, they can do it. And just the confidence of saying, you know what, I'm gonna walk out because there is just no chance they're gonna get back on the stage, and so I can confirm this kill. That's a beautiful understanding. And I mean, this was one of the moments, just consistently doing it. I would have been so frustrated, I would have just waited for them to get back on the stage.
And again, Roy is not commonly thought of, I think, as one of those, you know, characters that has great edge guard ability, right? Because that recovery is a little lacking, you know, in terms of the distance that they can cover. Roy is not typically one of those characters you think, okay, this is going to be an easy edge guard, but you see Floral not afraid against this Captain Falcon to go off stage at all, because again, what's Falcon going to do? He's only got his jump and his up B, really, and there's really, you know, once those are off the table, he's got nothing left. He's got an air dodge, but that's not going to get you all that distance, and that's readable. Floral just kind of dissecting what to do in those offstage gameplay scenarios, and, you know, dismantling that, you know, that portion of the game, and giving himself a 3-stock victory here propels DePaul into a victory this week. But we still got one more match to go, and a 5-19 scoreline is more or less what we were expecting to see from the number 1 seed in the EGF.
I'd have to say, really good comeback, making sure that the first match really was just a really good kind of win coming out from Weber. Now, DePaul gets to just, you know, relax for a little longer. A lot of respect, and honestly, the players just being able to come back in, it's just something that I feel always defines them to the supreme territory, as I come back on to say, as I throw my hands in the air as if this is some, you know, fanaticism. I didn't use that word right. Either way, it's just what I love about DePaul, and I feel that's why they are one of the better teams. Just the fact that they can lose a match, a player will come in and do 3 times better than the last one, and they will continue that until they win. It's just something that impresses me.
The depth of this roster is something to be feared. I mean, I've brought it up before, but when we interviewed Mississippi State when they won the championship last season, they said, you know, when I asked them what they thought their biggest strength was as a team, they mentioned they just felt they had so many characters and players, you know, in their program that they just felt like they were ready for any matchup, or they could counterpick any matchup. And you're seeing now the depth of DePaul. Last season, it was mostly 5-6 guys that were getting the starting time. Now you're seeing a lot more of these players that we didn't get to see last year. Legacy getting some starts here now in this spring split. Floral, huge improvements this season. Even Akana, the new young gun on this Young Link, that's a very different matchup that not a lot of people are ready for. Young Link is not the most popular character if you look at the play times of a lot of players. You see in this league a lot of Nesses, a lot of maybe the occasional Roy, a lot of Pokemon trainers, but when you have that kind of off pick like a Min Min, for example, even upcoming now, our next player being locked in for the side of DePaul, Matt Beach, very talented. Mega Man is his go-to character. We don't really see a lot of Mega Mans in this format or in this league in general. But, to have that kind of matchup knowledge, to have that experience of, various play styles, to have that character diversity, it is so important to a lot of these championship caliber teams.
Definitely agree. And it was one of those really, really big shining moments. But, of all things, I'm kind of excited to see, especially when we get that chance for the interview, of what those answers are going to be. Because we tend to ask very similar questions, but I gotta sit here and say, it's just, how do you keep up those strengths? Like, how does a player shine every time they come in? That's something you think they would rust on.
Yeah, I mean, the consistency too is another big key for a lot of these teams, and it also makes me think of earlier. We were. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of a scheduling mishap where St. Peter's, they had to forfeit their match today. But St. Peter's, to me, is one of those teams that is the example of consistency, not in terms that is the problem with them. They are a championship caliber team in the MAC. They've kept pace with the teams like Siena, like Quinnipiac in the past, but they haven't always had every player win every week, and because of that, they find themselves in the basement of the standings. That being said, focusing back onto this match, Yo-Yo Guy with the Lucario here, and Matt Beach not opting for the Mega Man this time around, going for the Kazuya.
Honestly, I find it a little more funny. We are going to see the Kazuma, and very much the jokes with this are the exact inputs, the Tekken-style combat, but it works, all right? The Lucario very much is going to benefit off this a tiny bit because of the damage, and obviously the Lucario mechanics when it comes to this, but it is very much a fight between two very different martial artists.
And Lucario, too, not a character we see all that often either. The trick to this Lucario, well, maybe that's not a trick. That's just a straight-up up smash from Matt Beach, and I'm not quite sure what Yo-Yo Guy was looking for there, but it did not work out. So Matt Beach now with the big lead. But as I was saying, Lucario, he does get stronger as the match goes on, especially if he is trailing. When he's down a stock or down in percentage, his moves, especially his specials, do a lot more damage. But look at how clean the conversions are from that Beach right now. He's already got Yo-Yo Guy at 94%, but the clean neutral B into the back air evens the stocks back up.
I mean, it's just what works best when it comes down to these fights. I feel that it's harder for Lucario to do anything. Kazuma basically can kill you at that high percentage with very few hits. It's that threat that you have to worry about. I think Lucario should be relying on to the speed and maybe more of the aura sphere. Try to be as annoying as possible. Stop these, precise inputs.
Yo-Yo Guy right now kind of at a loss because just the power of this Kazuya just doing so much percentage. That was nearly a scary situation for Yo-Yo Guy to be in. Matt Beach, dodging a lot of these projectiles too, and Yo-Yo Guy again has to kind of go in, and because he is forced to go in at this deficit, he is eating a lot of percent doing so.
It's extremely difficult to try to go head to head against, and I think that's just the given to the fact that Kazuma just does so much damage. I mean, the Lucario's at 101, but it's about confirming these kills. That's basically the matchup in Smash. But then Kazuma runs in, stuns you with just a simple fist. Hey, you're a magical creature. How is he able to do this as a normal demon human?
Ooh, that is the down B, and that is game number 1. Kazuya taking this one, and it looked very strong. I especially loved the movement from Matt Beach in that game. Just when you think of a Street Fighter character, you think, okay, they're either running at me or they're running away, right? But look at the movement by Matt Beach. Even here, I should say, I said Street Fighter character, but I did, Tekken character. The aimbot characters, the characters that always face your opponent, those are the type of characters I'm talking about. They aren't known for, necessarily tricky movement, but Kazuya feels like the opposite. You can, as you're seeing from Matt Beach, have a lot of tricky movement and be a little bit harder to track down. Even there, the turnaround back air is not the easiest thing in the world to land, but you're seeing Matt Beach being able to pull off a lot of these harder combos.
Definitely agree. The Lucario can get a lot of jumps in these clicks in the air, but look at this. I mean, Kazuya has their own cinematics. How are you going to beat a character that has more cinematics than the entire roster combined? Alright? One grab, one hit, you get animation that plays extra. You know how much money that costs Nintendo to play? And I feel, for one of those characters that we're not used to seeing out of the DePaul players, it was a pretty nice surprise. Definitely something that got my blood boiling in a good way.
Yeah, this Kazuya, it is a scary thing to fight against, because these characters, they do a lot of damage, and I mean, in theory, if you're going up against a Lucario, you may think, well, that may not be so bad. Lucario, with that rage, with that aura, he can really put that to good use, and you saw that for a few portions of this game with that neutral B to back air that you saw. The problem is, Lucario, in terms of that kind of actual boxing tool, when you have to go up into your opponent's face, yeah, that is where Kazuya thrives. And so for Yo-Yo Guy, this is an uphill battle, to say the least. When you are going to be playing at those high percents for so long, and you've got such raw kill potential from a character like Kazuya, where do you go? Where do you find your own combos and your own stocks to take? That's the challenge for Yo-Yo Guy, and he's opting to go to Kalos, so he's got a lot more space to work with. I like this pick.
I definitely agree with that. I more often than not, the Lucario is going to have a little bit more range. It's just not letting the Kazuya get a second to hit you. That's the problem that really comes in, and Yo-Yo Guy is looking to try to play in that aggression, but it's being more punishing than anything. I almost feel like you aren't able to kind of walk into the Kazuya.
You're really not. That's a good neutral B, but that's going to be a clean conversion. That's going to be the up air, and Yo-Yo Guy with his first lead of the series so far. So we'll have to see what he can do with it. Not much is the answer. That's an up smash from Matt Beach, and things are back to even.
These players are so hyper-focused. This is the only thing on their mind, but life is like a hurricane, and it's not always going to work the way you want it, because look at this. This is close to a 0%, and that's solely from the fact that these Tekken players, they are able to land things that you would never believe. Feel more bad. That Yo-Yo Guy is just looking for these hits and is trying to be as floaty as possible without walking too close. Sometimes oversteps, but that's the benefit of Lucario, especially at high percentage, being able to take that stock and bring it more into their favor.
117 on this Lucario. That forward smash killed very early. Kazuya relatively heavy, but this should be a stock answered back, followed up by the up B. That move does a surprising amount of knockback, and things are back to even. Matt Beach, he was very good on that second stock, getting these combos. Quick 50, make it 65, putting a lot of shield pressure on now, and now Yo-Yo Guy has to find a way to respond.
Very much just looking to try to adapt probably caught off guard from just the early pick and now wanting to have a little bit more respect for their opponent. Yo-Yo Guy, though, very much looking for these mid-fights, trying to be a little bit more spaces. Ooh, a nice beat just to kind of bring in the edge. And unfortunately, this may be closer to the end.
Matt Beach tracking down Yo-Yo Guy and just a raw forward smash seals the deal. DePaul, they get the victory here, and after dropping the first set, they take the next 4, and they are back on top of things here in the EGF.
It's just what's beautiful about these matchups, and especially these teams. Always having something new to show us, always having something to make us kind of, fanboy, fangirl, whatever way you want to call it, over. And I definitely loved how this matchup went. And when it comes down to the new team, to the new college team, they did absolutely great. I don't think there are too many down moments they had collectively.
Yeah, no, Weber State, they definitely had their moments. I mean, you felt really good about how Beta played in that first stock, and even the rest of these matches, despite the 3 stock we saw earlier, a lot of these games were very, very close. And even Yo-Yo Guy here, he had his moments. It was just Matt Beach was so clean on this Kazuya, and if this is how this Kazuya is going to play, I'm excited for what the future brings, because we've really only ever seen his Mega Man here on the EGF, but this Kazuya, I mean, look at the track down of saying, where are you going to go from here? I've got center stage covered, and I've got your air dodge back covered with this forward smash. Just the spacing of Matt Beach, immaculate this set.
Man, I was just more focused on trying to make sure that I didn't say this match was over, and they just didn't jump around for like 20% of the game. So when this punch came in, I felt it was there, and I couldn't even give that loud reaction. It was just, unfortunately, a little bit expected, but maybe that's just because Matt is always prepared to deal the final blow. And while a very good performance, I definitely feel, and as we said, we are going to be looking at a new team who are going to be shining a little more.
With that, Weber State, they fall to 0-2 on the season. Their next opponent is Wichita State. Battle of the WSUs here in the EGF. That one should be exciting, but we will be back with an interview. I believe it is Matt Beach will be on the mic after this intermission. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the EGF. We are here with Matt Beach from DePaul after their victory over Weber State. Matt Beach, how's it going?
Doing just fine. Been a bit of a busy day, but it's always nice to, when it comes to like EGF competition, where I'm always hyped to be around for the team.
Yeah, it is a fun match to watch. I want to ask about your set in particular. We've typically seen Mega Man from you, but this Kazuya, it was on point today. When did you pick up this character?
So it's kind of funny. So right around the time Kazuya was announced, which I think was E3 last year, me and two of my friends from Chicago Smash, VidRocker25 and Poof, we both were just like, all right, no matter who the next DLC character is, we're both going to main them for a week. And it ended up being Kazuya. And I don't think either of them lasted it was 2 weeks. I don't think either of them lasted the full 2 weeks. But for me, it was just like, you know what, this character kind of works. He has a lot of vibes of Smash 4 Ryu to me, which Ryu was the character I played back in Smash 4. So it was very much like, okay, this is actually weirdly familiar. I'm having fun here. I think this 2-week challenge is going to last for a little bit longer. So that kind of, after a series of events after that, that's kind of led me to be here today.
So, that kind of goes into the idea, because I'm always interested in when a player kind of swaps up. So what do you look for when you're, deciding that next character to play?
I generally look towards, the kind of, characters and, players that I'm going to be going up against the most. I know with a lot of people, they kind of pick their secondaries, pick their lineups based on what characters just flat out blanket check the entire game. For me, it's much more I'm going to look towards what I'm most likely going to be going up against. Like in Chicago, for example, it's okay, we have a lot of Roy players in Chicago. Okay, we have a lot of Ness players, a lot of Greninjas, etc., etc. So it's I'm going to be picking my character lineups based on that for the most part. So that's kind of the main thing that I try to keep in mind. And then when it comes to EGF, it's kind of more difficult because there's a lot of characters. There's a very, very large character variety. And more importantly, there's going to be plenty of times where I'm going to be intentionally counterpicked by the opposing team. So the way this goes to Kazuya is he's a character that, maybe he doesn't win that many matchups on paper, but, he's such a messed up DLC character that it's totally possible to just kind of win a matchup anyway because you landed one really, really nice combo or you got one really, really nice read. And so that kind of turns him around, I think, into being a really inconsistent character in terms of matchups, into being a consistent character in terms of being able to play in those matchups where he might not always be, where he might be getting counterpicked. So that's kind of the big that was kind of one of the big reasons where it was why I could play Kazuya in something like EGF. It was just that combination of I want to pick a character that works against what I'm going to be literally fighting against, or what I'm going to be literally playing against, and also it's a character that for the most part at least is going to be able to thrive in matches where he gets counterpicked.
Honestly, that's a lot of really good insight. And so, Baka, I kind of want to get an idea of, especially because the first match was really close. You got to see, your opponent for the first time, and they did really well, especially on that Mario. So, after that first match, do you guys feel nervous at all at the possibility that every player might be a little bit better or on that level, and so you may struggle when it comes to the victory?
It's always that there's always, especially when it comes to these newer teams in EGF at the start of every spring split, there's always this matter of okay, we know literally nothing about this team. We tried looking them up, we can't find that much. They didn't play last week, so we don't have really anything to go off of. There's always that factor of unpredictability. Mm-hmm. So yeah, on one end, occasionally it can make us be nervous. It's all right, we have to throw in a blind player. Do we save this guy or that guy? Do we put them in now? Do we throw in something that's just really good against a lot of characters? Do we throw in something that's just goes for cheese? What do we do? I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty on that end, and so I think it makes us nervous just based on that because we're not sure of what we're supposed to do, I guess. But I mean, at the same time, it's also very exciting because it's all right, we're going to be seeing these new opponents. We might get some really valuable matchup practice, or we might be able to see something that's we had never seen before. Maybe they happen to have a player on their team that we actually recognized we didn't know was a part of their team. So I mean, I would say it's a little bit of that balance. It's not really nervousness, but just a lot of uncertainty, but also a little bit of excitement to see what we could actually be going up against.
And speaking of what you're going up against, next week you've got another team on the docket that is a newcomer, Sacramento State. How do you prepare for these matchups where you don't know who you're going up against?
I'm gonna keep it real with you. Some of us will just literally go on like Elite Smash and just play that to like warm up. I know that Akana and I have done that before. I know we tried to bully Bobby Time into doing it before, but he absolutely just hates that idea. But I mean, the thought process is real, right? Because it's like we don't know what we're gonna be going up against. When you're playing Elite Smash, you have absolutely no idea what you're gonna be going up against, and both of them are on Wi-Fi. So it's kind of preparing you for that. I mean, usually we'll try and do our research if we can. When it comes to like these newer teams, it's just that it might not always be doable. Especially against a school like Sacramento State. It's like this is in California, like definitely one of the best states in the United States for like Smash Brothers. So the player, like the talent pool is super, super deep over there. So you really don't know like what we could be going up against.
Exciting prospect, and we will see you there. While you're here, though, is there anyone you would like to thank or shout out while you have the mic?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, as always, like huge shout outs to like everybody who's like a part of our like varsity program, whether they're on the varsity team or on the JV squad. Literally everybody comes out to like root for the team whenever we play in any competition. It's a really, really exciting sense of unity that I haven't really seen that much in like other communities, whether they're collegiate or otherwise in Smash. So it's really, really great to see, everybody such as like Turbo, Fimbulv. I know they were here earlier just watching the match. Everybody who's in the stream. I know that Ego was in the stream earlier. He's on the varsity team, but he hasn't been playing in EGF lately. All those sorts of people, like everybody that just comes out and supports the team. I mean, I can't give a bigger shout out than that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week when you guys take on Sacramento State.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and we will be right back. We'll be cutting to a short break to get ready for our next matchup of the day. One more newcomer to the scene on our docket. UTA, we get to see them for the first time, and they'll be going up against George Washington University. Should be a fun one. We'll be right back.